While the world was distracted by the pandemic, the true criminals were quietly organizing a global currency collapse so they can put us under an electronic currency that will fully manifest by the midst of the tribulation. It is coming. There is no way the Fed can raise rates without putting us into a recession or, more than likely, depression. Print that money. It's really sad that people can't see the writing on the wall. The next financial crisis will be bigger than the last one and will wipe out a lot of wealth across the board. 35 trillion Pentagon accounting black hole announced were quietly last year on the day of impeachment judgment. 35 trillion in accounting adjustments, I kid you not. A total that's larger than the entire US economy, and it barely made the print. And let's not forget the mother of all bubbles, that is, the derivatives market. Which is a ticking time bomb that no one seems to be talking about. The derivatives market is, in a word, gigantic, often estimated at over $2.4 quadrillion. The top US banks had derivatives with a notional value of about $147.1 trillion backed by interest rates. The 2008 collapse most people think was just a housing bubble. The reality is that nobody actually knows what exactly caused the crisis, but what do you think subprime mortgage-backed securities are? They're derivatives. For 10 years, the central banks have maintained the illusion that all is well. Meanwhile, global leverage has exploded to record highs, with the bond bubble now a staggering $147 trillion in size. I can't stress this enough. Interest rate derivatives are making a case for a financial crisis being ahead. Derivatives are dangerous, and they turn into a problem very quickly. For example, the 2008-2009 financial crisis escalated because of derivatives. And now derivatives, thanks to Dodd-Frank, are in line ahead of depositors of checking and savings accounts. Yes, your checking account is FDIC insured. However, only about 10% of that can be covered by the FDIC. All FDIC insurance is not enough to cover even 1% of the derivatives that will claim it ahead of you. This time around, there are more derivatives in the financial system. It's not just the American banks that hold so many derivatives. Others around the world own a lot of them too. The derivative market is screaming, financial crisis ahead. This entire banking system has to collapse. This show cannot last. 2.4 quadrillion in derivatives over-the-counter interest rate swaps. As Warren Buffett said, derivatives are weapons of financial destruction. The thing is, systemic risk is too high. It has to, and will collapse no doubt. America would go to war to get out of the debt. When will it come? Nobody knows. Next week, next month, next year. But it is coming. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to also hit the notification bell. The Fed is Soviet-style central planning. Remember how fast the Soviet Union collapsed? Central banking guarantees such a fate. Weimar Republic happened in just 6 months. The USA now has a budget deficit of almost 50% of budget spending. In other words, everyone gets on average twice what the economy can sustain. Just imagine the shit show that is coming. Europe is not much better. Global debt went from $10 trillion in 1971 to $270 trillion in 50 years. Calculate the ratio and value after the next 49 years if you want to learn new numeric values. BIS, central banks, governments, commercial banks. They are all together in this. The world debt is unsustainable, and they know it. I won't touch on internal, external debt differences since many know very well how that works. But don't worry, the Fed will print a quadrillion and make everything better. The Fed cannot print food or real assets. The country is starving, and they are making the top 10% and the mega-rich even richer. Welcome to New America, the two-party system, the landowners, and the serfs. When the politicians are given the fiat printing presses, the end result varies from 0% to hyperinflation. Double QE in 2021. QE removes money from the economy. The goal of the Wall Street banks is to crash the stock market and take down all the pension funds. The banks are international criminal organizations. The Fed's racket is pretty simple. They are swiping the value of the cash in your pocket, every day of your life. The Fed can buy bonds. The Fed can print dollars. But who else will want that stuff? The Fed's printing only works so long as foreigners will accept those printed dollars. The Fed is on an extremely narrow path and can fall off either with inflation or deflation. Got to be positioned to survive either. One difficulty with shorting is the stock market is an asset that can compound by a factor of 10 in a couple of decades, so it can be devastating if you get trapped. This is financial voodoo, hedge funds needing a bailout, and posing a threat due to their voodoo derivatives, the bankers-controlled Fed mopping up the mess, and more financial voodoo. All of this activity that benefits banks ruin our markets, currency, and economy. Bankers' chicanery that benefits the chosenites but creates chaos for us deplorable. I was merely a working tax donkey with no conception or understanding of the above until the Great Recession, when I learned that the Federal Reserve, our own government created with computer keystrokes $16 trillion to parcel out to U.S. companies, corporations, banks and also foreign banks to bail them out and keep them afloat due to their chicanery, corruption, and irresponsibility that led to the Great Recession. Not one banker or financial firm, bank, or corporate entity was investigated or indicted. It was all swept under the rug. Tax donkeys such as myself were never enlightened as to what happened, and did not or would not have received any similar such beneficence from our bankers-controlled government system. It looks like these entities were involved in the same chicanery since the Great Recession and will be bailed out again. Today the real demand for U.S. treasuries is shrinking, Russia is out completely, China is borrowing against their U.S. treasuries, South Korea has enough, so the Fed is mopping those up as well. By next year, the insolvency of this model will become apparent to the elite, along with the fact they have drained the US to the dregs. The one thing that the Fed cannot directly do is create demand. That lack of demand is why there are cracks showing in the otherwise Disney-esque facade. The printing is covering a lot of sins, but it is going to catch up. The entire system is a scam, almost like the casino odds are rigged to favor the casino, and those smart enough to count cards are not allowed to play. The system is actually a detriment to the masses, and helping a few do well, falls far short of helping the masses. We need to take control of this republic. Eliminate the Fed system that allows the elite to control the money supply to their benefit and use a science or resource-sourced system to be more in harmony with nature and the planet. My dear viewers, this is your quarterly warning that Uncle Sam is not a good steward of your money. The total amount now for the global derivatives market is over $2.4 quadrillion and counting. Yeah, just think about that number for a minute. Quadrillion dollars. Derivatives fall into many categories, from futures, options, credit default swaps, and any complex combinations of these. They can also be used to wager, bet, and spectate on a market move or direction. The general risk is simple. If you start seeing defaults, particularly credit events, these derivatives have to start paying out. Then the derivatives of the derivatives involved in the defaults will also have to start paying out. See the snowball effect? These defaults are sometimes taken to court to determine the wording of what to call them because of the derivatives behind the default. i.e., is it a credit event or not? Currently, defaults are generally low, so these derivative payouts are nothing more than bankster games in the shadows. This is one of the reasons you see the Atlantis report always harp on subprime problems, because that is where the most money is currently made involving derivatives, but it is the most dangerous to the markets we know, as 2008 showed. Subprime is the canary in the coal mine. That's where it will likely originate if it implodes again. The worst case scenario is that the payouts will exceed the total available liquidity. It would be immediate panic leading to depression because of the liquidity crunch. The cash market available, your production market available, and the investment market available. Clearly, it isn't enough to cover the possible implosion of the derivatives market. The rub is that if the derivatives blow up, then the money is gone. Remember that debt paid or defaulted means the money that it represented is gone. So all the money that savers have would be useful in helping to rebuild the markets and businesses, but the Fed will loan money out for cheap to the gamblers that broke the system, so the savers' money will also be cheap. If you have savings, you lose. Here is the best way to think about it. A derivative is like some of the crazy side bets you see take place in sporting events. But because everyone knows these are very wild bets, you have to provide collateral. In the derivative industry, you can use other derivatives you are carrying as collateral. This is why there can be so many magnitudes of collateralized derivatives even though there isn't that much collateral in the entire solar system. So back to the original illustration. Would your bookie accept as collateral other bets you have on? Nope, cause he ain't stupid. But the Fed is that stupid and is backing all of this mess by throwing billions daily into the repo and treasury market. At some point, the bets will be wrong and come due. There is no collateral that is not also pledged 100 times over. So someone defaults and doesn't pay their bet. That's when the wheels come off, because that will cascade through the entire system. This is why the Fed will not publish who are the bad banks that are sucking on their repo window. Because what will happen is people will realize that bank is in trouble, and they are counterparty to a hell of a lot of our derivatives. We need to close those trades now. The next financial crisis will be bigger than the last one and wipe out a lot of wealth across the board. 1. No one really knows exactly when a crash will occur, but there are cycles we can get rough ideas from. 2. Be ready with research and hedge with hard assets. Only hard asset preserve wealth. Government currency is a scam. Currencies have an exceptional track record of 100% failure. Gold, silver, and other hard assets are the best insurance policy you can have, since the Earth's population will double and increase to 14 billion in the next 10 years. Buy hard assets, farmland, gold, silver, guns, ammo, and food. Smart money is on precious metals, farmland, multifamily, real estate, and other hard assets. This is not hard to figure out. The central banking policies are designed to bankrupt those too stupid to escape the Titanic before it sinks. We are run by an elite criminal worse than any mafia. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, leave me a comment, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels. I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.